Hello, everybody, and good morning. Thank you for having me here today. This is really brilliant to see everyone and to be part of this conversation. I wanted to introduce myself properly. I'm Charlotte, and this is Sarah. And we thought it would be great to give you a bit of a background as to who Paragon are. We're going to be talking about accessibility and inclusion in the arts from the perspective of Paragon. And hang on, maybe could I have the next slide? Let's try this. Ooh, magic. Thank you. I'll have one more. There we go. Paragon, for those who don't know, we are an arts organisation and charity dedicated to access in the arts and making the arts accessible to all. We're in our 45th year, which is why I've included a little balloon. And this is our 11th year in Dumfries Galloway, which is a particularly significant milestone for me. That's how long I've been with the organisation. As a native Doonhamer, then I'm particularly proud of that. I thought I will keep it fairly succinct, but I'm going to basically chat through who Paragon are, what we do, and how we do it. And of course, we'll hear from our fantastic local musician, Sarah Turner, as well. Okay, so we use music and the arts to transform lives. We support people who face barriers to accessing the arts to create and perform their own music. We use the term additional support needs as a very wide umbrella term, basically to include anyone who has faced any kind of barrier, whether that's due to having a physical disability, a learning disability, mental health condition, young carers, anybody at all who's faced any kind of barrier. And of course their families as well. I should say that our workshops and all our activity is inclusive, so it's for family members to get involved too. We have a year-round programme of group workshops, mentoring and training, so it's a really rich and varied programme, and we work with a fantastic roster of local musicians and artists, visual artists as well, and theatre makers to deliver these workshops. The artists are freelancers trained with us in inclusive arts practice, which I'll get into a wee bit more. And they, as well as delivering the work for us, the artists then take the practice into their own lives and work outside of Paragon as performers, educators, therapists, facilitators, composers. So the practice kind of trickles out. It's worth me saying at this point, slide please, thank you, that we sit quite distinct from music therapy and from formal education. We have this kind of bubble in the middle that we call inclusive arts. So there are definitely crossovers with those sectors, but we are quite distinct. We are an artist-led organisation, so we don't see our practice as being like a medical intervention, although we do know that it has therapeutic benefits. But we exist basically to give people who want a life in the arts, whatever that may look like for them, the access and choice of opportunities to do so. We adopt a person-led process, so that means as administrators, we consult people in our processes and in our programming. And as artists, we are creatively guided by the people who we're supporting to make music and art. So we put our egos to the side and we rely on our artistic knowledge to support whatever the person or the group contributes. We recognise and respect the different reasons for participation. So some people might come because it's fun, it's social, they might have their own personal ambitions. It might be a sensory fulfilment that comes with it, or emotional fulfilment. These are all valid reasons and they all coexist in the same space, and it might be true for different people on different days. That's it. So why are we invested in making music accessible? Well, we see creativity as essential to well-being, so it's essential that everybody should have access to it. It's kind of grounded in the Article 27 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, that everyone has the right to freely participate in cultural life of the community and to enjoy the arts. And yet we know that there is, fundamentally we know that music and the arts is good for our well-being, our physical, mental, emotional well-being, and yet we know that there's an inequity of access. So we are here to address that, the disparity in cultural participation. The Scottish Household Survey in 2023 found the disparity between population subgroups accessing the arts, so adults with no qualifications, those living in the most deprived areas of Scotland, men, and those with a disability were not participating in or making art in the same degree. And this is because, for a whole host of reasons, the mainstream arts activity is not accessible. That can be, as I say, a host of reasons, including physical, cultural, attitudinal, procedural, access to information. I mean, the list could go on. So we strive for a richer, more diverse and interesting arts scene that's reflective of our communities and our society as a whole. Because why not? Everyone benefits if we can nurture equality, diversity and inclusion in our society. And the arts is a really powerful tool to do that. I say nurture because it does take time and care to do that, but we see that as a real investment of that time. There we go. I thought it would be useful to dig into a little bit into the nitty-gritty of how we actually do, what that means in practice, creating accessibility in the arts, and then take a bit more of a broad look. So the investigation, we spend quite a bit of time, my colleagues and I, behind the scenes before any activity starts, like inquiring as to who's coming along to the activity, and that might mean us asking questions such as, what do we need to know here? What can we do to make this experience good for you? So that means finding out what support needs somebody has, not necessarily what condition somebody has. It sounds really obvious, but we don't need to know if somebody potentially has autism. We need to know, what does that mean for you? So does that mean that we need to be sensitive with lighting, with noise levels in the room, which you can imagine in a music workshop, that's a real consideration. How do we make sure that everything's very sensitively handled? And so then that leads me on to the planning. We consider all the sensory aspects of our environment and put all the measures in place. I want to actually pause to say, if anybody does need to kind of get up and move around, like, this is something we factor in as well. Like, we know that not everybody, can focus or we might feel a bit restless, so please do move around. I'm very happy for anyone to do that. We know that we often need to reassure people as well before they come along to our workshops. Often people have trauma from bad experiences. People can be cautious. Perhaps they've been to something before that they thought was accessible that actually turned out not to be, or even just come from a family of music educators in schools, so I feel slightly sort of allowed to say this, but often people do have bad experiences in schools where they've maybe been told that they're not a musician and that they can't do it, so it takes a while to unpick that. So a lot of time and care is spent reassuring people that they are welcome, and that when they come into the space they can adopt whatever identity they want to. We see people as people first and then as artists. Personal relevance. We ensure personal relevance. So who are you? What do you want to do today? It's a choice to come, which is again why we sit outside of formal education. And what would you like to contribute? We want to foster agency. So you've chosen to come. What would you like to contribute today? And then it's down to the skills of our professional artists and facilitators to facilitate that. They might have a room of, say, 15 people, all who have different ideas to chuck into the mix, and then as a musician, this half of the room wants to contribute the note C, this one wants to contribute the note D, and you think, right, how do I, bring this together so that everybody feels a sense of ownership over what they have created. So this is maybe a good point to introduce Sarah. The last thing I'll say just before I bring Sarah up is that this does take time. I mean, this is the tip of the iceberg, really. This is how we train our artists. It does take time to go into the theory here, but it does take time, but it's so worth it. It takes that time to build trust, and it's an investment in people. We first did a workshop in Dumfries and Galloway in 2014, 15, and we still see a lot of the same people back over those years, and I think that's kind of quite a testament really to the practice and to the investment that we have in people. So Sarah, who's a local musician and has been involved with Paragon for many years, as you'll hear, please come and join me.
Hi, I'm Sarah, I'm 29, and I'm a singer-songwriter based in Annan. I'm a multi-instrumentalist, currently recording and working on a debut EP, inspired by mental health and my life experiences. I sing with Dumfries Community Choir, also part of Dumfries School of Samba. I volunteer with Paragon Music, and I'm a Paragon groove artist. I've always had a love for music. My journey with music started at school, where I attended the school choir, which I loved being a part of. However, music at school wasn't always my favourite. When I started to do higher music, I had a teacher who wasn't very supportive, in that if you didn't fit within the specific box, then you were pushed to the side. It made me feel inadequate, and as if I wasn't as good as the academic kids who had private music lessons and could sit and concentrate for music theory. I was undiagnosed at this point in time and really struggled with school. However, had an invested interest in history and done well in admin. I didn't see myself as a musician at all at this point. After school, I went to Perth College to study admin, which I really didn't enjoy as it was very repetitive and mundane. I was more interested as to what was happening in the music department at the college. I dropped out following a mental breakdown, and not long after that received an ADHD diagnosis and other mental health diagnosis. It felt like a bit of a relief, like that makes sense. The next few years I spent job hopping, getting degrees. I got a degree in dental nursing and done that for 4 years, then went back to college and got my HNC in professional cookery. I never felt like those were the careers for me though. Throughout this time I was attending Oasis Youth Centre. For me this was a creative hub with lots of groups and activities that were happening. I started attending a group called Super Mondays at Oasis. This is a group for young people who have additional support needs and neurodiversities. You could always find me in the music room doing karaoke, tapping a beat on the table, or generally making a noise. One session we were told that a choir would be rehearsing in the next room, so we were to stay put in the other room and not disturb them. However, when I heard the choir sing a song I loved, I made an excuse to have to walk through to the toilet. I didn't go back and ended up sneaking into the choir. And from then on, I made great friends and became a part of Dumfries Community Choir, who I still sing with to this day. Not long after this, Paragon came to the centre to do a taster session with us and to tell us what they do. I walked in and seen an array of instruments I'd never seen before but had always wanted to try. I was handed a harp. I think the intense staring at the harp in amazement may have hinted that I wanted to try it. I naturally played it and within 10 minutes could play Hallelujah. Shortly after this, I started to attend Resonate, which is the under 25s group at Paragon. It gave me the opportunity to be around others who share a passion for music making, but also to explore music in a safe and supportive environment. I love the fact that there was no box to fit in and you didn't need to learn a specific piece of music. It gave me the opportunity to also play instruments I'd never had the chance to play before. After a couple of years attending these workshops, I spoke to Charlotte about becoming a volunteer. I've always wanted to help others to be creative and explore music. I grew up supporting family members with disabilities, and I felt I could offer my knowledge and experience and have a role where I was more involved, as I tended to shy away in the corner during workshops. Around the same time as this, I started on the Groove Mentorship Programme that Paragon ran with Emily. I started off playing piano and singing and learning cover songs, gradually became more confident and started to do more improvisation and put music to my poetry that I'd been working on. This then led to opportunities to perform at open mics, which in turn boosted my confidence to perform bigger gigs and concerts. Paragon also gave me the opportunities to link with other arts organisations in Dumfries and Galloway. I connected with Dumfries and Galloway Arts Festival and received funding from the Up Your Arts programme. As I mentioned, I'm working on my debut EP, which I'm hoping to release early summer, in time for Mental Health Awareness Week. My journey would probably not have turned out this way if I hadn't been for the organisations who supported me and gave me the space and opportunities to explore my creativity without having to fit into the parameters and expectations of traditional music learning. Music has been a lifeline for me throughout. It helps me to escape the world for a little bit and refocus. It's important to me that arts and music are accessible to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Such a powerful story. So our practice is underpinned by the principles of universal design and the social model of disability. I'm sure that will be familiar to many of you. I'll not go into too much detail with that because it's worth looking up yourselves afterwards if you're not familiar with them. But basically, it's the universal design is the practice of designing environments to be accessible to people of all abilities, on the basis that anyone can use it without the need for it to adapt. Environments meaning like services, buildings, or products. The social model of disability, well, the models of disability are tools for defining disability and ultimately for providing a basis upon which government can devise and society can devise strategies that meet the needs of disabled people. The social model of disability was developed in the 80s to combat the medical model of disability, very much empowering the thought that disabled people are disabled by society and not by their bodies. And that barrier removal as the way forward is the way forward. So what can we do to make somebody feel welcome in an environment rather than expecting the person to change? To zoom out a bit, we see our partnerships as being a really key aspect of how we create accessibility in the arts. We have really close network of partners in not just the arts, but also in health and social care. For example, a couple of years ago, we did a brilliant project with NHS speech and language therapy. There's amazing how many ways we can connect and reach new audiences. Takes time and care to build these relationships, but we see these collaborations as essential to an inclusive and sustainable cultural life. It provides a robust and resilient network based on sharing experiences, information, audiences, and resources. The project should be sustainable, not parachuted in, so right from inception, the people who will benefit are represented in the decision making and have the time to build confidence, contacts, and present challenges, develop skills and ideas. And we embed accessibility into our funding applications, our processes and procedures, and our time management. We're confident with our approach, but we constantly evaluate our own learning and language, and we impress that upon partners as well. I think there's the real potential for people to feel shame with equality, diversity and inclusion. Did I say the wrong thing? Are we covering our bases? How do we implement this policy that we have? So we really strive to open up conversations and explore possibilities where there's good intention and a creative mindset. I don't want to duplicate some of the things that Nancy said, but I do echo that we all feel the arts is underfunded and undervalued, and it's just it's difficult to provide consistency sometimes when things are funded project by project. I'll not just to echo that it can be hard to find to access funding and know where potential pots of funding for the creative wellbeing, creative arts and healthcare support is. So I'm looking forward to some conversations today, and really excited to be part of a local, regional, national conversation and movement to recognise and acknowledge the work. So where are we in our 45th year? Well, we've taken this opportunity to really take stock and look at our own journey and learning. We want to keep doing what we're doing. We know that it works well, but we need to capture the impact. Sarah's story is really powerful and deserves to be heard. We want to document that. You know, we want to really provide strong evaluation and impact studies. We take our position and responsibility really seriously, so we want to embed our learning of inclusive arts practice into all of our activity, into more formalised discussions and training. We're here to learn. We respect the strengths of our partners, which is why I'm delighted to be here today. These cross-sector conversations lead to new learning and perspectives, new approaches, new audiences, new resources. And we're totally committed to contributing, as I say, to this thriving network of organisations that together striving for the recognition and support for the arts as an essential part of our health and wellbeing, and should be accessible to us all. Thank you very much, and here to enjoy having these conversations throughout the rest of the day. Thanks to Sarah again as well.